It's been about a year since I got my first few Milwaukee tools and about 8 months since I switched to using Milwaukee for most of my other cordless tools in the workshop. And I've had lots of messages and comments asking me to give my opinions on them. And now that I've spent a decent amount of time using them, I feel I can start doing that. But not everyone is going to want to listen to my opinions because, and this is the full disclosure part, Milwaukee sent all of the tools featured in this video to me for free and they helped to support my channel. So I reached out to Milwaukee about making this video and told them that I wanted to be completely honest, cover the things that I dislike about the tools as well as the positive things, and they were fine with that, so that's what I intend to do in this video. If it's not for you, I totally understand that, but if you stick around, I think I can offer some good insight into their range of tools and also tell you some exciting news. I won't be talking about all of my Milwaukee tools in this video, just the ones that I have used a lot and have a good amount of experience with. And I'll be focusing on the M18 range in this one. Maybe I'll do a follow-up on the M12 range in future if you guys want to see that. Links to all of the tools I mentioned will be in the description box below if you'd like to check out any of the tools. I'll start with the larger machines, and this is the cordless M18 table saw, which runs on batteries, and you're best off using the larger batteries like the 9 amp hour and 12 amp hour batteries. I have used the 5 amp hour ones on it before and it works fine, but they don't last very long. This saw has some excellent features that I actually wish my main large cast iron cabinet table saw had, like a quick release riving knife, an insert plate that doesn't rely on screws to hold it in place, and a built-in spindle lock for changing blades. It also came with 2 riving knives, one low profile so that you can make non-through cuts, and one with the anti-kickback and crown guard attachments. The rack and pinion fence system, which locks onto both the front and back rails really solidly with no movement at all, is excellent. You can cut up to 622mm in capacity using the flip over support rail on the fence, which is pretty impressive for such a compact saw. The gear system on the blade rise and fall is very quick in comparison with my previous saw, the DeWalt DW745. It's a lightweight saw and easy to move around, but when you take a look on the inside, it's obvious that it's built to last. Good quality components that should stand the test of time. Turning the saw on is activated by pulling this lever, and you can turn off the saw by pushing it in, which is an excellent safety feature because it's so easy to find. It has plenty of power to tackle hardwoods and softwoods, no problem at all, and that thin curved blade obviously helps with that as it's removing less material. It took a little bit of setup to get it cutting accurately, but I expect to do that as standard with tools anyway. You can't really expect them to be 100% accurate right out of the box. I have a video which can help with table saw setup, which I'll link to in the description box below if you're interested. The blade was parallel to the mitre slots to within about 0.2 of a millimetre, which is within tolerance as far as I'm concerned, but if I wanted to adjust that, it's easily done via these bolts on the bottom. The table appears to be perfectly flat from left to right and almost perfect from front to back. There's just a very slight fall off at the front of the table of about 0.5 millimetre, but that won't affect the accuracy at all. My favourite thing about this saw is the brushless motor, as it runs much quieter than the brushed motor on saws like the DeWalt DW745, which I used before. The motor on that was incredibly noisy. The brushless motor on this saw isn't as quiet as an induction motor, but it's not far off. It's really well designed. You can tell they've thought about things like, for example, being able to store the fence away for transport, and there's places for push sticks and accessories within the body of the saw. And it has built-in one-key technology for tool tracking and security. I'm sure that'd offer extra peace of mind when using it on a building site, for example, but for me, it's not a feature that I would use. Personally, I found the table to be a little bit on the small side. That could be a good thing or a bad thing depending on your situation. If you're working on a building site and want to move it around all of the time, which is what this tool is designed for, or if you have a really small workshop and need something compact, or perhaps you don't have a workshop at all but you want to do some woodworking in your garden, it's perfect for that kind of thing. And that's what I tend to use it for actually, like for example when I built the shed last year. Dust extraction on the saw I found to be reasonably good when hooked up to a vacuum. You do get a little bit of dust landing in front of the blade, while making cuts, but to be honest, I found that with every table saw I've ever used. A couple of other things I don't like. The mitre gauge doesn't fit the mitre slots at all well, but again, that's something that seems to be standard on most saws, especially at this price range. So don't expect to get accurate cuts with the included mitre gauge, although for construction jobs, it's probably fine. Also, the stock blade doesn't leave a clean cut. Again, probably absolutely fine for construction and most carpentry jobs. But if you want to use it for anything more refined than that, you're going to want to upgrade the blade to a better blade, and Milwaukee actually make a really good one for it, which would be an excellent choice. With all that said, you can get this saw set up to cut to very fine tolerances and cutting accurately, especially with the supplied fence. And if you were to either upgrade the mitre gauge or make your own sled for this, you can get excellent results. It's a great saw and I've really enjoyed using it. Now on to the M18 Mitre Saw. The batteries seem to last absolutely ages in this. I've been giving it some heavy use over the last few months, cutting loads of half lap joints and that kind of thing. And I've been really surprised at just how infrequently I need to change the battery. The trenching cut feature is a nice addition and really useful for cutting joinery. It has a good range of motion, swiveling to 50 degrees in one direction and 60 degrees the other, and it tilts to 50 degrees in each direction. Now that does mean that the saw takes up quite a large footprint, so if you want it set up in a workshop similar to this with the dust hood and everything, it will take up a bit of space. There is very little noticeable play in the head when it's at full reach, so I found that it can be set up to cut very accurately indeed. I didn't spend much time at all setting this up. I think I tweaked the fence a little to get it cutting square, and since then, no issues. And the blade tilt was a perfect 90 degrees to the base right out of the box. No issues at all with power. It will cut through hardwoods and softwoods, no problem, and the stock blade on this is excellent, leaving a clean quality cut. I really like the adjustments on this saw, particularly the big chunky bevel lever at the back. Dust extraction isn't as effective as I'd like it to be, but it is a mitre saw and I don't think I've ever experienced great dust extraction on a mitre saw. It does have this dust flap thing, which I presume is to help guide the dust in. It has an LED light, which I use all of the time and I really like it. Not only is it handy for better visibility of cut lines, but it also creates a perfect shadow line, which you can use to line up to a pencil mark with precision. Things I don't like about it: the distance from the back of the saw to the front face of the fence is about 468 millimeters, which is pretty big. Not only that, but the way that the dust port sticks out of the back means that by the time you put a dust hose on it, you'll probably need to allow for at least another 100 millimeters or so behind the saw. I managed to reduce that a bit by removing the plastic hose port on the back of the saw and fitting the hose inside. But in my opinion, a better design would be to have the dust port leave the saw perpendicular to the head rather than straight out of the back. So that means this saw takes up a lot of space in terms of depth, which is something that anyone working within a small workspace will want to consider. Another minor complaint is that the bolts which hold the fence down have a large Torx head, but the Allen key included with the saw, which has a special place right here in the body of the saw, has a small Torx head one side which doesn't fit these bolts, and a hex Allen key head on the other, meaning you can't adjust the fence with it, which in my experience is the main thing that you're likely to want to adjust. I think it'd be much better if all of the bolt heads were standardized so that you can just use the one Allen key for all of the adjustments. Before I move on to talking about more of the M18 tools, I wanted to talk about the battery platform in general. The Milwaukee range of tools is really impressive, covering a variety of different trades and professions, but there are still a couple of tools that I'd like to see added to the range though, and at the top of my list would be a plunge saw. Another tool that I'd really like to see added to the range is a cordless hot glue gun, a tool which in my opinion is too often overlooked by the major trade grade tool brands. It's a tool that I reached for a lot, and I know I'm not alone on that. Having used other brands of tools in the past, the Milwaukee range of cordless tools feels a bit more like its own ecosystem and a bit less like just a bunch of different tools with the same brand name on them. One of the biggest user frustrations with tools, and I know that a lot of you will feel the same, is the variation and lack of standardization of dust port sizes. So often we'll use gaffer tape, rub it inner tubes, or have to buy special adapters to get things hooked up to a dust extractor. Hooking up Milwaukee dust extractors to Milwaukee tools works seamlessly. Most of them even lock in place so that they don't work their way loose as you're using them. And that just makes for a much better user experience compared with the tools that I've used by other brands. There seems to be far more standardization in the Milwaukee range, with most of the tools having a generic 32mm dust port. And on those tools where the dust port sizes differ, like with the planer or the jigsaw for example, adapters always seem to be provided in the box to allow them to be stepped up or stepped down to a standardized port. Next up is the M18 Circular Saw, and I particularly like this tool for the ergonomics because it has the motor housing on the right hand side, which means I can see exactly where I'm cutting being right-handed. so I can cut to a line really accurately. I know that some people prefer the motor housing on the opposite side so that the base plate is better supported on the workpiece while making a cut, but personally I'd much rather have the improved visibility of the cut line. It's very comfortable in the hand and it has a horn at the top for using it two-handed too. Great build quality. I particularly like this really thick and chunky magnesium base plate, and it has a metal blade guard, which means you don't have to worry too much when putting it down on the floor. Brushless motor makes for excellent runtime and plenty of power, and I'm pretty sure I still have the stock blade fitted in this. I don't think I've changed it, and I've been really happy with it. And again, Milwaukee have thought about dust extraction and connectivity. I know that there are some circular saws that either don't have a dust port at all, or you have to buy a plastic thing separately and screw it on, like with my previous circular saw. Next up is the M18 Trim Router, and I'm pretty sure this was the very first Milwaukee tool that I tried, and it's been used for cutting roundovers, rebates and the odd bevel. I have also cut slots with it once or twice, and it has plenty enough power to do that too, as long as you don't take too heavy a pass. It comes with the transparent dust cover in the box, which is great for dust extraction, and it's easy to add and remove with this toolless thumb screw thing. Also included in the box was a larger base plate, which can be swapped out for the standard one for better stability when routing. Again, it has a brushless motor, so it's quieter and more efficient with batteries. It's comfortable to hold and use, nice and grippy, and it feels a little bit less top heavy in use in comparison with the Makita, which I also have here. Also, while I'm comparing with the Makita, the Milwaukee is also better for fine adjustment, as it has this button to bypass the thread on the rise and fall mechanism, whereas with the Makita, I found that it can move slightly out of place when you go to lock it. The only thing I don't like on the Milwaukee are the numbers on the adjustment dial, which I don't understand at all, to be honest. No idea what they mean. It has two built-in LED lights illuminating the workpiece as you route. You can also get a plunge base and an offset base for the router, although I haven't used either of those yet. Next up are the M18 drill and driver. Both have been great, and I'm not going to talk about these too much because they're not the most exciting tools to talk about, but I do like both very much. Very comfortable to use. I love the all metal chuck on the drill, and also the motor on this drill is very quiet in comparison with the Hikoki drill that I was using previously. I know I always seem to be talking about how noisy tools are, but I just like quiet tools. The impact driver is really small and compact, and it has 4 different power modes ranging from precision work to maximum torque and power. This is the M18 Framing Nailer, which I've only used a few times so far, mainly for repairing floor joists in my house and for framing a stud wall to create a separate bedroom, all of which have featured on my channel previously. But very happy with this so far, no issues. Hopefully I'll get to use it more in future, next time I have more of a construction project to work on. I've never had a jam on this nailer, very little kickback, and while it is a little bit on the heavy side, it's pretty compact in comparison with other battery operated cordless nailers. And for the work that I do, I'd take a little bit of extra weight over either being tethered to a cord or messing about with gas canisters any day. It also has a bump fire mode as well as a single fire, meaning that you can hold your finger down on the trigger and just push the nose against the material to fire the nails. The M18 finish nailer works great, and I've used it a lot. The nib makes it very easy to direct your nails exactly where you want to place them. I've never had a jam on it. It works great every time, and you can adjust how far you want to sink the nail heads into the material, and I've used it with up to 50mm size nails and always been able to sink the nail heads in below the surface of the wood, no matter how hard the wood that I'm nailing into. It also has bump fire mode as well as a single fire, and it leaves very small holes which are easily filled and hidden. A few years back I had the Makita cordless sander, and when I talked about it on the channel I mentioned that I wasn't happy with the battery life of the tool or the speed at which it operates, so I ended up getting rid of it. Anyway, the M18 sander seems to perform noticeably better. Battery life is good, and in terms of speed of removing material, now I can't say for sure because I can't test them side by side because I no longer have that Makita sander and I can't find any comparisons of the two sanders online either, but it definitely seems to me that the Milwaukee outperforms it, and it also comes with a dust collection box with a filter inside. I really like that, a much better solution than those flimsy dust bags that you often get with sanders. I don't reach for it for every sanding job, but on those occasions when I need a cordless sander, it's very useful and it works well. The The M18 Jigsaw is excellent. I particularly like the fact that this has a blower built into it, which removes the sawdust as you're cutting, so you can see the line that you're cutting to. It also has a detachable soft shoe to prevent damage to the surface that you're cutting. Toolless blade change, making it quick and easy. It has 3 orbital modes which you can select depending on what material you're cutting, and it cuts faster than any other jigsaw I've ever used. The M18 Planer is the first planer that I've ever owned to come with a dust collection bag in the box. Such a useful thing to have, and I wouldn't be without one again. The downside is that it does fill up pretty quickly, but if the bag was any bigger, it'd be too unwieldy and cumbersome to use, so I think they've got it right here. Another feature that this has that I've not had on any other planer is the dual dust port with its selector switch, allowing you to direct the chips either from the left or the right hand side of the tool. Great when working in tight spaces. It has a sprung foot thing on the back, meaning that you can put the tool down without worrying about damaging the blades, and it's another tool that I've really loved using. Next up is the M18 angle grinder, and the thing that stands out for me about this compared with the other grinders that I've used in the past is the toolless blade change and toolless guard adjustment design. It's so quick and convenient and no spanners needed. I also really like the safety switch and paddle design for turning the tool on and off. So in conclusion, I can tell you that there are a few common things that run through the Milwaukee tool family. Excellent build quality, great compatibility, powerful, great features, and an incredible range of tools across multiple different trades. As I've only been using the tools for a few months, I can't comment too much on long-term reliability, but I can tell you that A, I don't wrap my tools up in cotton wool, they do get used and abused, and B, I haven't had a single reliability issue with any of the tools so far. All of them have performed flawlessly, and I don't have any concerns about them continuing to do so. You can find out more about all of the tools I talked about in this video in the links below. I hope you enjoyed the video. Please subscribe to my channel for more weekly woodworking videos. If you'd like to get early access to my videos, exclusive content, free project plans and cut lists, and a name credit at the end of my videos, and help support the channel, you can also find links below to my Patreon page and YouTube channel membership. Thank you for watching.